Hey entrepreneur, this is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. Welcome to this special presentation entitled Entrepreneur, Don't Overlook the Powerful Marketing Lesson That's Hidden in Any So-Called Economic Recession, because it can potentially make you a lot of money if you learn to look at it with the right marketing eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to expose you to an incredible long-term money-making opportunity that's often buried in any so-called economic recession. Now, for those of you who saw a recent video that I just did, it was a story of how a relative of mine contacted me and they wanted to know if I could help them purchase a nice single family home for their parents. The parents are getting old and sickly and they wanted to move the parents closer to them. Now, this took place down south, just for those of you who may be watching, depending on what part of the country you're in, or if you're watching this outside of America. So I want to be clear about that. Now, here's the way it worked out. I told my relative to contact the lawyer that they were already doing business with who had specialized knowledge about real estate investing. And now that's not the house, by the way. This is just a house, but I'm trying to demonstrate the concept to you. But here's the point. They were able to get a repossessed house from the bank. In other words, it had been foreclosed on by the bank, which means unfortunately somebody had lost his home. But the way it worked out, my relative was able to purchase it for the current unpaid balance and some back fees, and it came out to a little over $24,000. Now, they got the $24,000 through their credit union. Their parents ended up paying them what was in essence the mortgage, and of course they paid the bank. And here's the beauty of this. The parents, to rent a comparable home even in that area in the south, would have been about $475, and they were paying, I think, $100 less, about four, don't quote me, like 360, between 360 and 380, something like that. But here's the point I want you to understand. The moment my relative took title to this legal title to this property, they had an instant $16,000 equity because the property had a fair market value. That's what FMV stands for, of 40,000. In other words, it appraised for $40,000. They got it for 24,000. Now, again, what brought this was the fact that this bank had tons of these foreclosed properties, pardon me, on their books. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but by law, if they get to any bank or credit union, any financial institution gets too many of these non-performing assets that refer to on their books, they can either be severely fined or they can be shut down. And the auditors come in. It's not pretty. So the point is, whereas they would probably never do a deal like this to you and I, the general public, in good times, relatively good times, they were more than motivated to do it in a so-called economic recession. That's what I'm trying to tie this whole thing together with. But here's what I want you to understand. Now, my relative, for years, I had been telling them about different things they could do, and they almost, it just seemed like one thing was going in one ear and out the other. They never paid attention to me. And then finally, they called me up one day in desperation, pardon me, and left this message on my phone that they needed to talk to me. And of course, my first gut knee reaction was, oh, somebody's sick or somebody's getting ready to pass on, and they just want to share this information and pass it on to me. But it wasn't that. They wanted to actually, for once, pick my brain and see if they could work the situation out. And the beauty of it is, ladies and gentlemen, my normal rate is just $250 an hour. They were all prepared to compensate me, which shocked me. But it turns out I told them this. Look, after they laid out the situation, what they wanted to happen, I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'll do something for me, I'm willing to waive my fee. And of course, they were all ears. What? I said, if this thing works out the way I think it can work out, if you follow my advice, you just give me a testimonial. They said, done. So here's the short of what I want you to get to. This is really, I had to go through all of that to get you to this point right here. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm just giving you a short list here, what it takes to buy a house. You need a signed note and mortgage. Now, some areas of the country in the United States, they have what's called a deed of trust or a trust deed. And this is, just think of a mortgage and a trust deed as interchangeable. In reality, technically, they are not. Okay, before you give me the emails, I realize that, but I'm just saying from a layman's standpoint, you have some parts of the country have a trust deed, some parts have a deed of trust, and some people have a note and mortgage. And there's some other vehicles, but I'm just trying to keep this really, really simple. Now, you need title insurance, obviously, right? You need escrow. Usually it's a year's worth of property taxes that they want escrow. You need to convey the property title to the new owner, and it's a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm just again trying to get you to a certain mindset. Now, here's what I want you to understand. My relative took advantage of the fact that this bank wanted to get this non-performing asset off of their liability ledger onto the performing ledger. So they were more, and again, he reached out through his attorney. Now, these properties are sometimes referred to when banks hold them as REO, real estate owned properties, or sometimes it'll be ORE, other real estate owned, whatever. Now, if you call up a bank, they're going to tell you no, they don't have any of these. Trust me. All anybody that's lending money for cars, banks, whatever, I mean houses, whatever, they're going to have some of these. But the point is, they're not going to tell the general public that. But it's a fact. Now, here's what I'm trying to get you to. Follow this. Look at this house right here. Now, let's suppose this particular house has a fair market value, FVM, pardon me, of $400,000. But it could be purchased for the current unpaid mortgage balance and other fees for just $240,000. Now, do you see a similarity here? I hope you do, because here's what I'm trying to get to. The moment the new owner takes legal title to that property, they just created $160,000 equity, people. You take away a zero and you got the transaction I just did with my relative. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand here. So here's the point. Just like 16,000 was 40% of 40,000, entrepreneur, 160,000 is 40% of 400,000. So here's the point. For doing the exact same paperwork, would you rather potentially create a $160,000 gross profit or a $16,000 profit? It should be a no-brainer. So here's the point. You start off small, get your feet wet, learn the concept, develop your skill, then scale up. Now that I have that testimonial from my relative, and that's not the only one I got, but the point is, now I could go to an investment club or run an ad for private investors, invite them to a workshop, show them this documented case study and say, we're specializing in homes and go anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. And your investment is going to be secured by a first mortgage position on a piece of prime owner occupied property. In which case we know we can go in and buy this property for something less than its fair market value and then turn around and sell it. And we're not going to sell it the way you're thinking, all right, I don't want to get too caught up in the sauce here. But what I'm trying to get you to see is, if you're just starting out, let's say you know about social media, and if you do, by the way, send me an email because I could definitely use your help. But let's say you know about social media. Let's say you know about search engine optimization, copywriting, whatever it is. Go out and find some smaller transactions in which you make it crystal clear to the owner you will do this for your cost, as long as they give you a testimonial. Now, after you've got a track record, take those testimonials and now go to somebody who's in a bigger position to help you out, and now you want to do it for profit. Just like this transaction right here. They can see that I know what I'm doing, and they say, okay, all right, so we're going to give you what, $250,000. You're going to secure it by a $400,000 asset, in this case, a house. And if things don't work out, we got $160,000 equity or thereabouts built into this transaction. Yes. That's why somebody be willing to risk $250,000 or more. But now, if you're just starting out of the gate, in other words, you need heart surgery and this person's fresh out of medical school, how confident are you? Exact same thing here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope, and I'm trying to stress to you, an economic recession doesn't have to automatically mean gloom and doom. And that's what I was trying to demonstrate to you with that. So on that note, for those of you who want to discover how you can add an additional 25% more gross profit to your bottom line, entrepreneur, you want to do so in the next 90 days or less without having to add new customers or clients. If you watched any of my videos, you got more than enough examples to prove to you that I know how to make this happen with your help. If you are, convinced, you need to go to youcanmarketonlinenow.com/sales and grab your free 9-page special report. And if you're serious about growing your own business, then here's what I want you to do. Two things. Number one, if you know anybody who's struggling in business, who uh, values and respects your opinion, I want you to forward this video to them. Help them out. They'll thank you for it later. If you're serious about growing your business, or if you have a product or a service, you need help marketing it, then grab your free 22-part Small Business Marketing Mastery Series. It's an additional free 22 email sequential lessons spread out over time so you have time to digest the material. It's my free gift to you. It's my way of saying thank you, welcome to the inner circle, and you're going to get that on top of the 9-page special report. That's correct. It's a $97 value. But here's the thing. If for whatever reason my strategies, concepts, techniques, insights don't work for you, then ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to unsubscribe anytime you want for whatever reason you wish. And we can still be friends. This is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. Entrepreneur, we'll see you again next time on the Marketing Minute.